Hello, this is Mary Prasad, Artist in Residence with Imagine Crafts. In this video, I'll teach you how to use Delicata Inks, Memento Luxe Inkers, and Creative Medium to create a grunge multimedia look. For this project, you'll need the following supplies listed on the screen. Here's a strip I made that I did some testing on. On the one side I did not use gesso, the other side I did. The gesso side looked much better. Without the gesso, the inks tend to sink into the paper and really stick. With the gesso, they glide over the surface, allowing the texture to show through. I used 3 types of papers in this project. One was a hot press satin grain, one is a rough texture, and one regular cardstock. The satin is more smooth, the hot press satin. The rough grain has a really nice texture which will show up with the paints. And the regular cardstock I'll use with my paper punches. To begin with, I'm going to coat all my papers with acrylic gesso in white. I'll add the gesso going in both directions to be sure I get a nice even coating. This is the rough piece that I cut to about 5 by 7 inches. This will be used as the background for the front of the card. This is a smaller piece of the rough paper which I'll use to die cut some of the framing pieces. I'll use the small piece of satin paper for the letters that I'm going to die cut. Finally, the cardstock. I won't need the whole piece, so I'm just going to do about half. Once all the pieces have dried, I'm going to start to add the color. For this look, there are going to be a lot of layers. I'm going to start with the Memento Luxe inks, and then I'm going to add some creative medium to them to thin them out and give them a little more transparency. This is the white cardstock, and I'm going to use this for my butterflies. So basically I'm going to lay down some color, and then I'm going to add some of the white shimmer ink to make it more iridescent for their wings. I don't know how many butterflies I'm going to use, but I do know I want them in red and blue, so I'm just going to make some patches big enough for several butterflies. These other papers are going to have more layers, and I'm going to do these in strokes. This first piece is a satin. You'll probably notice the difference as I apply the paint to the rough. The paint really brings out the texture. Once I've finished applying the red, I'll start on the blue, and I'm not going to put as much on the large sheet. That's going to be the main background. At least not yet. I plan to stamp first and then add some more color. I chose this really cool clock face stamp. It's going to be very subtle in the background, but you'll see hints of it through the paint. I'm using StazOn Jet Black ink for its staying power. I find the best way to clean the StazOn off my stamps is with the StazOn All-Purpose Stamp Cleaner. I spray it on, dab it with a paper towel, and finally I just clean it with my stamp scrubber. Check out how clean it gets the stamp. Now I'm going to add some more color. I'm going to apply it the way I did before, and then I'm going to change over to some ink blushers. This will make the ink go down into the crevices and give it a different look. For the next layer, I'm going to apply this beautiful Delicata black shimmer ink, again with an ink blusher. The Delicata ink gives it a soft, subtle shimmer. I'm also applying it to both of the smaller sheets. Before continuing, be sure the inks are really dry. I used a heat tool to speed up this process. To give my main background even more texture, I'm going to use this embossing folder. I'm going to check the side that's raised and put the back of the paper on top of that. That way it will push through to the front and give the square textures on the front of the card. After running that through the machine, you can see the texture if I turn it into the light, but now we're going to bring it out with some of the white shimmer Delicata ink. Since we mainly want the white shimmer on top of the squares, we're going to carefully skim the surface with our ink blusher. Also add white shimmer to the cardstock set aside for the butterflies. For the final layer, add some more Luxe Inkers at full strength to the paper, but just do it in a few spots here and there. Next, I grabbed some of my butterfly punches and punched a variety of butterflies out of the different colors. I'm going to use these dies to die cut the small pieces off screen. The satin paper will be used for the word fly, and the rough paper will be used for the frame. I also cut a piece of blue cardstock for the card base. To add a little bit more depth, I'm going to finish all the edges with the black Delicata shimmer. This includes the butterflies and the word fly. For the stamp sentiment, I'm going to use VersaFine Onyx Black ink with a couple inexpensive alphabet sets that I bought at my local craft store. It probably doesn't show on camera, but I did draw a couple of guidelines for my stamping. Don't worry about it being perfect though, this just adds to the grunge look. I wanted the blue paper to look like it had clouds, so I used the white shimmer Delicata ink and smooshed it around with the ink blusher until I got the look I wanted. To adhere everything together, I used tear-it tape. It's very strong and it'll be able to hold on the thick paper. And here's a closer look at the paper and also the card. For measurements and other instructions, please go to artbymdp.blogspot.com. If you like this tutorial, please consider giving it a thumbs up. For more tutorials, ideas, and inspiration, please visit imaginecrafts.com.